Crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. Hopefully you can see that I've used lots of dazzling diamonds. This is a card I posted on my blog today, and this is the one that I made just before I started the video. And I prefer this one, not only because I've raised the sentiment. I thought that looked a bit flat with all that raised, so I've raised that. But the other thing I've done, if you haven't spotted it, I've cut his ears off. A little bit of cosmetic surgery for Santa Claus. I just didn't think that looked right at all, with his ears sticking out like that. He should be all hair, and so he's lovely like this. I'm happy now. Right, so I'm going to show you how I made him. Obviously I'm not changing colour scheme today. I will start off with the card pieces that you're going to need, and they are a card base in Whisper White, which is 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, which is 21 by 14.5 centimetres. A layer of wild wasabi, and that measures 4 inches by 5 5/8 inches, which is 10.25 by 14.25 centimetres. A layer of Whisper White, this measures 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/2 inches, which is 10 centimetres by 14 centimetres. Then a piece of Softly Falling embossed Whisper White. I'll tell you as we go along why I did that. It's this folder here. I don't normally pre-do jobs like that in advance, but on this occasion I did. There's a reason for it. And this measures 2 1/4 inches by 2 3/8 inches, which is 5.75 by 6 centimetres. That's going onto a layer of wild wasabi, which measures 2 3/8 inches by 2 1/2 inches, which is 6 centimetres by 6.25. You also need scraps for the holly and the Father Christmas, and you need a piece for the sentiment that is 1/2 inch wide by about 3 3/4 inches long. I've allowed myself enough space to make a mistake or two. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. And in centimetres, that measures 1.25 by 9.5 centimetres. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is adhere these pieces together. So while I'm doing that, I can tell you the story behind that. I had an inquiry from somebody who asked how you could emboss a piece of paper that a piece of cardstock that was bigger than the actual embossing folder, and she particularly specified Softly Falling, and I've seen it done so many times, never actually tried it. So I got myself a piece of paper that was 9 inches by 4 inches and put into practice what I'd seen, and it worked beautifully. Well, as beautifully as it can do. I mean, it doesn't line up perfectly, but it certainly lines up well enough that it probably wouldn't be seen on a card. So I was left with a piece of paper, a piece of cardstock, Whisper White, that measured 9 inches by 4 inches, that was embossed with Softly Falling. So I'm now using that for jobs like this, which is the only reason why it's already done in advance. Okay, so there we go. That's that all lined up. I'm going to line this one up as well. I'm going to put the glue on the proper side. So that's all right. I'm not putting that on until I've got the other parts ready. So I'm going to do the stamping. There's 3 stamp sets I'm using. This is Jolly Friends, and I'm going to use Santa Claus, his hat, the trim round his hat, and the bobble on the end of the hat. For the holly, I'm using this and this. which is Hollyberry Happiness. There is a third step to this, but it doesn't actually line up, not as in at the places that I think it should be. So I'll show you how I draw mine on. I don't worry about this one. And the sentiment comes from Christmas Pines, and it's that one there. Right, so let's start off with the holly, and I have to say this lines up absolutely beautifully. It really is spot on. Let's cover that up before it dries. Right, I have already prepared 2 pieces of this because it has to be fussy cut. Now, if you don't like the idea of fussy cutting, what you could do is just stamp this straight onto your card. Okay, you could just stamp it straight on like that, then put the square down where that's got to go, and then turn it around and do your next one. Okay, so if you don't like fussy cutting, that's a step for you. Okay, so I need 2 of those. I need 1 Santa Claus. He also needs to be cut out by hand as well. I need the bobble for his hat. And I need the fur for his hat, the trim. That goes in the punch. Allow yourself enough room to hold it. Okay, come right the way down then. And I need the hat. Now when you do the hat, make sure that you get plenty of ink on it. I missed a little bit on this. That little bit there, can you see that? Yeah, that's it. I didn't check my stamp once I'd done it. So let's put this near the edge as well. The hat pieces will all get punched out. We have a, I don't know what it's called, hat builder punch, I suppose. All the correct names will be on the screen and in the box below. So the only other stamping I need to do is the sentiment. So let's see if we can do this. Let's move that one away. Oops, just touched that. Right. I have a towel just down here by the side of me for mishaps like that. And that's what I'm about to use. Right. When you're using photopolymer stamps and it's something that you're trying to get lined up, it's a good idea to put it on a block larger than it needs, because then you won't have the distortion of the edges here. The only trouble with that is you have to be extremely careful not to get your ink all around the edges, because then if you wobble it a little bit, it will go onto your cardstock. Right, that's nice and straight with my grid lines, my grid paper. And that should be straight. I'll line that up. So what I'm doing is, as I'm going down, I'm looking to make sure this line is straight with a line up here, because I know that I've put it on there straight. Okay, my ink pad is very wet, so it comes out a little bit like that, but it dries okay. I'll put that on one side. Now we're ready to sort these pieces out. So first of all, oh, I didn't colour this, did I? Right, let's go back, rewind. That's me saying how easy it lines up, and I don't do it. Right. Okay, now what I do is, because you can see, it's so easy to see the black through here. Bearing in mind I'm not getting my head over this, if you go down very, very slowly, making sure the ones at the front line up, and then check the ones at the back, at the bottom, at the top, back to the front, keep checking all around, and then you go for it. Okay, and look at that. Okay, I've missed a bit there, but if that bothers me, I could go back again. Considering I didn't have my head right over that, that is jolly good. Right, let's try again. I'm going to check the front, the top, the end. In fact, I've got the light shining on it as well. That may be better. Oh, much better. Well, because that one's okay, I don't mind showing you. Okay, so if you look closely at the one down this end, on the left-hand side, you better see the bits where I've missed. But the one on the right-hand side is absolutely spot on. And that's what you should be able to do. It really is quite easy, if you avoid overhead lights. Right, so with my real red marker pen and using the pen end of it, I just go onto my ivy and draw small red berries. Sometimes I'll put 3 in a cluster, sometimes I'll do 1. But I'd much rather have them drawn freehand like this than trying to line up with the 3rd step stamping. I mean, this is so easy to do, it really isn't a problem. Okay, seeing as how I'm not going to be cutting all of that out, that's going to do for now. With the face of Santa Claus, I have a Blush Blossom retired marker pen. About 3 years ago, Stampin' Up bought this out of retirement and sold it as a single item, and I bought 2 for myself, and it's absolutely brilliant. So if they ever do that again, which I wish they would because it's a lovely colour for skin, do get yourself one. So I do still use it. You'll need to use, what do we have? We've got Blushing Bride or Pink Pirouette, and I don't know what colour people use actually. Right, so all I'm going to do is just across his face, his nose. I don't have to do all of this because his hat's going on top. Okay. And then what I do extra on his nose. I do nice rosy cheeks for him. And I imagine that that's his mouth, so you can see that too. And before I started amputating his ears, I would have done those too. Right, first of all, I'm going to show you how I fussy cut this. I really am not fussy with it. Right, now I start down by the stem and I just twist. And holly really is quite easy to do because it's all half circles as you go round and then you dip back in again. The only thing is when you come to an area where you think, okay, where do I go from here? Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith, like this one here, for example. Now I'm just going to go round up to the next point. I'm not going inwards. Okay, so cut that one off. In there, follow that one round, and then I'm over to that one. Okay, so I miss out quite a lot, partly because I need to have room to put some dimensionals on the back, and also because I think it may become a little bit too floppy if it goes right to the stem each time. And I think this looks nice like this. I really don't have a problem with it. Okay, so that's how I go. Let me show you these that I've already done. Okay, so you can see how much white area I have left there. And you can also see on the back, from the back view, you can see how much room you have left for dimensionals. I could probably have put whole dimensionals on there, but half is fine. Okay, so that's the holly. This one's going to be punched out. Let's work our way around here. Now, which way are you going to go in? Right, let's see. And that wasn't very clever at all. What I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to adhere it to a little arm. This is not a Stampin' Up product, but it's a repositionable. You can use snail on here and just tap your finger on it a few times to make it less sticky. Which way are you going in here? Oh, I could have just about done that. Without the handle, I mean. Alright, let's just see if I can move it up, tilt a little bit. There we go. That's that one. And then I need to punch out the trim for his hat. Now that one should be perfectly okay. There we go, yes, that's fine. Now this one lines up perfectly as well. It will leave you a little bit of white edge all the way around. That's it. And then the little pom-pom, that's right on the outside here. And this lines up too. Must admit, the first time I did it, I didn't think it did, but with a bit of patience I managed to get it. So the only other thing I need to do now is to cut out Father Christmas. I'd made up my mind I wasn't going to use the name Father Christmas. I don't know whether, I suppose other countries do, but Santa Claus I think is a more universal name. Right, now you don't have to bother too much about the top because that's going to be covered up by the hat. But when you come down where the ear is, then you've got to be very close to the head. But the rest of this you can just cut around and leave yourself a white edging. There we go, it doesn't take too long. Then going, once you come to this side, just go really close to the head. I don't go right close, you can see it's still quite dark there. Went a bit closer on that one. But round here it really doesn't matter because the hat will be on top. Right, let's get rid of this rubbish. And that's rubbish too. Right, so I'm going to put Santa Claus together and then I'm going to put the dazzling diamonds on. So I start by putting a little bit of Tombow at the bottom here. If it wants to play. Come on. Oops, that's it. If I get impatient with it, it decides to come out too quickly. And I'm just going to dab that on my spare bit of paper at the side here, just to take the excess off. And then I'm going to put the third trim on here. And I just centre it so that there's about the same amount of overhang that side to that side. Bring it down, just over halfway, I suppose. Now, the next bit is for the pom-pom. Tweezers. Do we have tweezers? Okay, so that's that on there nicely. Now I'm going to put it on his head. But what I do is just put some little bit on the trim of his hat and a little bit on his hat, so it's all getting a bit attached. Right, let's put that on. I suppose I ought to use my silicone mat, just in case I get it to leak. Now when I put it on, I make sure it goes right to covers his eyebrows up, but it doesn't cover his eyes. Okay, that looks about right. No, don't push it too high. There we go. Okay, I think he looks more like Father Christmas like that. So next is the Dazzling Diamonds, and you need a liquid glue. We do have a fine glue pen now, which is absolutely amazing. But when I knew that these 2-way glue pens were retiring, I did buy several of them. So I'm going to use this one, and I am going to paint all over the pom-pom, over the fur trim. You could do this once you've attached it to the card. I just find that this way you don't get dazzling diamonds all over your card. Okay, so that's like that, and then turn him round. I'm going to do his moustache, not his mouth. Don't want him coughing and spluttering. And then round his beard. I try to stay within the black line, but I'm not too hard on myself if I go over. Okay, so that should be... This 2-way glue pen does actually dry clear. It's handy that it's white because you can actually see where it is. Right, so put that down. Now I'm going to dunk him in the Dazzling Diamonds. And then we have Santa Claus. Right, now I'm going to put the rest of my card together. So the first part I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first sprig of holly up there. And I'm doing it so that the sprig goes that way. And I'm going to do it so that I've got about 1/8 of an inch gap from the top here. And that is sort of level with that, equal distance on those sides. Don't worry if your 1/8 of an inch is a different 1/8 of an inch from mine. Now we're going to take the base for Santa Claus. You could do this with dimensionals if you like, but I just feel that there's enough on there with the height. And Santa Claus is going to be with dimensionals as well, so Oops, that's clever. Right, so with this one, whichever way you want your snow to go, I prefer the heavy snow at the top, slowing down. Now if you've used the fussy cut ones, you can slide your frame underneath it like that, and then with the next piece of holly, this time it's smiling. I'm going to put this down so that the leaves just about come over. There we go, that's nicely balanced. Not sure that's straight. So the last thing I need, oh no, let's do Santa Claus. Let's put him on. And I'm going to do one dimensional there, one there. I'm going to cut one in half and put one either side. And then I'm going to take 1 1/4, so I can just put one on his pom-pom. And I do it so that it's in place to hold on to the hat as well, just in case I hadn't glued it very well. There we go. These are really sticking to me today. Right, now I'm going to pop Santa on here, and I'm trying to get this bit here centered. And make sure I've got a similar sort of gap top and bottom there. There we go. Yep, that's fine. And then for my blessings, I saw somebody do this the other day, so I'm giving this a try. She put her piece of paper in this punch. Can't think what they call it, but I put the name on there. In fact, is that going to come? Got to piss off. Otherwise I'm never going to get close enough. So slide that in with, that's it. So I need it about there. I know everybody says the easy way of doing it is to cut a line up the centre and then cut from corner to the top of the cut line. But that's allowing for the fact that somebody can cut a straight line. Let's take a bit more off of there. I need to see the part of the stamping come through, so I know that's it. I know how far up to take that. Okay, let's move that over a bit. Right. That's about it, I think. Okay. Yes, that's pretty good. So now this, I will use 3 complete dimensionals because they fit on really nicely onto a 1/2 inch strip. I have one either end and one in the centre. There we go. Let's just put this so I can try straight. I think that's okay. There we go. So there's today's card. I hope you've enjoyed this fun little card. I'll show you all three of them again. I definitely prefer Santa without any ears. I don't know if you have an opinion on it. And I definitely prefer it with the sentiment mounted as well. So there we go. Many thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the box below or email me at janb@janbcards.com. I'll be very pleased to answer any questions you have. If you'd like to purchase any of the products that I've featured here, you can either go to www.janbcards.com and you'll find a Shop Now button, or there'll be a link in the box below that'll take you straight to my shop. I will put all the details of the products I've used and the measurements on the screen. I'll also put them in the box below. So if you can't see whatever device you're watching on, if it doesn't show on the screen, you'll be able to find it all below. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.